There we go.
Hello, everyone.
This is a redo of a do.
Yeah, we
Had to
had
redo
to.
it.
Yeah, we had to redo it.
Our mics. We lost our mic at 42 minutes when we did the first one. So
yeah, so we have to re-record. But fun little thing that has since updated. The only case that is left for me to type is Jack the Ripper. So that's
That'd be
gonna be
nice.
like a month of typing. So I am on schedule
Yeah.
by like minus 2 days. But I am on schedule with the typing. Yeah. Also, if you don't know, when we are recording this, it is if yesterday was the first day of implementation for what they call Savannah's Law in Tennessee,
Yeah.
which is a law
Sorry.
in Tennessee that if somebody is charged multiple times for domestic violence, they are now put on a registry. And it's a fun. Do you know why they named it Savannah's Law?
For somebody that was abused, right?
Yes, Savannah was a deputy, and she died by an abusive ex. And so they made Savannah's Law, where if somebody has multiple convictions of domestic violence against them, they go onto a registry.
Yeah.
So people are now saying, hey, keep an eye on your friends and neighbors if you all of a sudden have friends and neighbors whose significant others are wanting them to move out of Tennessee. So
you know who the really abusive ones are.
Yeah. So yeah, I just thought that was really cool and interesting when it comes to like.
It's about time.
And that's just in Tennessee, but who knows? Maybe it'll become a thing where because states. How many cases have we seen where an abusive ex or an abusive significant other is not in these cases, because sometimes in these cases, where they're the perpetrators of a really awful murder.
I don't know why I am never prepared whenever we start doing this.
We even pre-recording.
I'm not prepared because we want to hurry up and get it done. That's why.
Yeah. So we're gonna do this. Who knows? Maybe if we're in a good enough mood, we'll record another one after this.
We'll see. I mean, we might just to stay ahead and stay caught up.
Yeah.
To where I just have to remember which one's which.
You can just. You can't. Well, we're gonna do them in. No, we're not gonna do them in order.
Well, no, because this one is the Peter one.
You know what? We need a paper.
What?
We need a paper, and you need to make it the front of the video, where it's just us holding a paper with what the episode title is.
Ooh.
So that when it's on your phone, you can see, oh, this one is Peter Manuel's case, and then
see this one I'll remember. I mean, we have the chalkboard right there, so I'll know that one. So the next one that we do, I'll make a paper for the.
Because usually videos take the first part of the video and make that the screen caption, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so we can always just go ahead and do that so she can see which ones it is.
ASMR.
Yeah, we're getting some ASMR in here.
Some ice. Chitaru.
So this one, she knows quite a bit, and I know she knows. So you can now you can have more like opinions. Yeah. Because you've sat on this case. So this is gonna be the first one she like knows what happens in the case.
Yes.
Because we've already pre-recorded it. We lost the footage. So this is gonna be an interesting one because she now knows. So she can have more of an opinion about what's going on.
About the stupid idiot that's.
Yeah. Because this is also, so I was trying to keep on theme. And I decided to do English serial killers for the first theme. And the Yorkshire Ripper took 2 episodes. And this is going to be
we'll get this done in one. Yeah, because we were able to if my phone wouldn't have been stupid
and cut us off, we would have been able to.
I went through and I deleted some things off of my phone.
Give me Dr. Pepper.
So hopefully
it won't do it again.
It won't sit there and say, you have too much stuff in your storage.
That is the downside.
So, yeah. Get our drinks on. Not literally.
I wish.
We're going to get our spritz on because I wanted to get the winter spiced cranberry. It's so good.
It is really good.
And I usually like to stock up on it, but really wasn't a whole lot left. So.
Yeah. So,
it'd be cool if they came out with a chocolate fudge Sprite.
So, that would be. Peter Manuel is a brutal Scottish serial killer, and so I thought Michelle was going to be into this one, and she was into this one. She is into this one.
Yeah.
Because he's different from other serial killers we've covered. In a way, he's not. You'll see why he's different from other serial killers.
Yeah, because he kind of he's weird.
He is weird.
It's a weird. I'm gonna throw out. It's a weird case. And yes, I was writing out when we did this the first time. I was writing my recipes. Okay, because it keeps my hands busy. Like I was listening to her and what she was saying. And then wasn't there a point that I sit there and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I kind of made a face at you like,
yeah,
what? You're kidding.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So it is an interesting case. If you happen to see me sitting here writing while she's doing something, it's not that I'm bored of the case.
Mm-hmm.
It just keeps my hands busy, and I'm focusing on this, but I'm also
listening,
focusing on what she has to say.
And you can have more comments and stuff about it.
Because if I get distracted, then I don't have any comments. I'm like, what did you just say?
Yeah. So the case is going to begin on December 30th. We're not going to start with the killer's life. We're going to start with his spree, because the killer's life is more adequately suited after you start seeing the kind of patterns in the case. So on the evening of December 30th, 1955, 17-year-old Anne Nealon and her sister Alice Nealon went to a dance at the Glenley Social Club in East Kilbride, which is in East Lanarkshire. So while she's dancing, she meets a young soldier named Andrew Murnan, who was on leave at the time, and they immediately hit it off. They spent the whole night dancing together, and the two of them made a date to meet up a few days later on January 22nd, 1956. The plan was to meet at the Capitol Rig Farm bus terminal, and they were going to run away with each other. Now, there was a slight issue here. Andrew was wasted. He had been drinking really, really heavily, and he actually had no recollection of making that date. So he was never even going to make it in the first place.
Doesn't keep promises.
So Anne goes to the bus stop a little after 6 p.m. and she's waiting for him to show. And when he hasn't showed up by 6:30, she went to go visit her family friends, the Simpsons.
That's so funny. I'm sorry. Same reaction. Because I asked if that was their neighbor.
Relation.
Is there any relation? Do they have Ned Flanders as their neighbor?
So they chatted about 15 to 20 minutes, and then she caught a bus back home to East Kilbride. And she was angry that she had been stood up. And when the police questioned the bus driver, she said she remembered Anne on the bus, and she remembered that she was irritated and put out. So Anne gets off the bus at the Willow Cafe, which is a teen hangout, and the bus driver drove off. When she drove by the Willow Cafe again, she swore that Anne was still in the cafe within the crowd, but that was the last time she was seen. She was 17 years old and just out of high school, and she was working full-time and just living her life. She did live with her parents, and they were trying to be respectful and give her space and let her be an adult because she was responsible and a really good kid. So when Anne didn't return home that night, her parents were like, well, maybe she's staying with a friend, and she would be back the following day. But when the next day rolled around, she wasn't back, and they knew there was a problem. So they reported her missing to the police.
Stop it! Go lay down. Stop that. And that pretty much what happened last time in the video. Like right on freaking cue.
So they were...
Don't dig at the couch. Stop digging at the couch. Thank you.
So when Anne didn't return home that night, her parents were like, she's staying with a friend. But when the next day rolled around and she wasn't back and they hadn't heard from her, they went, there's a problem. So they reported her missing to the police. Now, as they were taking the report from Anne's parents, George Gribben, who was a laborer from East Kilbride, was walking around enjoying the moment around Calderwood Golf Course. And he approached some trees near the fifth tee, and he was able to see a person laying face down near one of the trees. And first he was worried someone had tripped, and when he moved closer, he realized that something really bad had happened there. It was a young woman, he could tell, and he could also tell she was dragged to the trees by her ankle. He said her skirt was pulled above her knees and her coat was disarranged and rumpled, like it had been shifted when she was being dragged. He said he couldn't identify her because of how badly she had been beaten in the face and head, and he said that he immediately knew she was dead. So he ran back to his work site and told the contractors that what he had found, and they assumed he was pranking them. What did you joke about all the time, George, to get people to, you're like, hey, I found a dead body, guys, and they're like, stop pranking us, George. What are your jokes like?
Right? That's a good question. What were what were your jokes?
Why would you assume that he's pranking you guys?
Like, how often did he joke before about dead things? Like, yeah, okay, George.
So George got frustrated that no one was believing him and went to a nearby house and he called the police. By the time he went back to the body, some of his coworkers decided to check to see if he was telling the truth, and he claimed that they had gathered around the body just as officers were starting to arrive. So the area was blocked off and the police started to investigate the crime scene. It became obvious what happened to police. There were footprints leading from the golf course to where she was laying, indicating that Anne had been chased by her killer, where she had then been dragged to the woods where she had been essayed. Her shoes and personal items were scattered around her, and they actually found one of her shoes stuck in the wall of a nearby ditch, like she had kicked the wall and the heel had stuck in the wall of the ditch.
Did you say that last time?
Yeah.
I missed that part. What the heck?
Yeah, so he was chasing her, like,
wow.
Like, that's got to be a nightmare too. Can you think about like running with like knowing someone's going to kill you?
I mean, Freddy Krueger did that.
Yeah.
So yeah, no.
The other shoe was 70 feet from her.
What?
Yeah. A few feet away, a pathologist, Andrew Allison, was able to identify where the assault had begun. He said the ground was saturated with blood, and he also said there was human debris, which is fragments of bone, hair, and tissue.
Ew.
The investigating officers looked at the crime scene and assumed she had been essayed, and they had assumed correctly. The autopsy that was done later proved it, and her attacker had stolen her underwear before leaving.
Okay. Because I made a comment on this too. Yes. We have somebody who steals shoes.
Mm-hmm. Trophies. They enjoy keeping trophies.
Exactly. Wasn't there somebody that kept hair?
I think some kept hair. They took clips of hair.
And now you have somebody stealing underwear. And then the person that used, I'm going to say he stole them.
Wait till we get
houseware stuff.
Wait till we get to the next killer we do. He also kept trophies. His trophies were a little bit different though.
Yay. Can't wait.
No, and it's something that serial killers seem to do. They keep trophies to remember their kills.
Stupid psychopath.
Yeah, they use it to keep victims like a memento. Like when you have some, like you go on a first date to a movie theater.
Shrine.
Yeah, like you go on a first date to a movie theater and you keep the ticket stub because it's a good memory and all that other stuff. That's what those are to them.
Make me a killer because I keep trophies. I think I still have the first ticket stub that John and I went to the movies, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah. But that's like it's a good memory for them. It's a way for them to relive.
How is that a good memory?
The moment. Because that's to them not... they get it off on the power.
Mm-hmm. They should just be getting off the train that goes over a raging river. Here, George, just step out there. It's okay. You won't go far.
Yeah. So the pathologist determined that the cause of death was repeated blows with a blunt object. Police said it was a vicious attack with so many hits to the skull. The vault of her head had been destroyed, meaning he had literally caved her head in. There were also cuts and scrapes on Anne's hands that pathologists believes were from her trying to climb the barbed wire fence that was around the golf course.
That is just nuts. I mean, you are trying to get away, so you'll do what you can, but ow.
Now, officers fanned out and went door to door, and there was a neighbor that had heard something about 36 hours prior. It was a commotion, and they didn't think much of it, but no one saw or heard anything else. Sadly, those who knew Anne were also of no help because she was just living her life. There was nothing of note recently. Alice said Anne was a pretty girl with lots of boyfriends, and said Anne liked to go dancing once a week, and when she went on dates, no one asked who with because they weren't worried about her. Jean Simpson, the one she visited before going to the bus, getting on the bus to Willow Cafe, said she was excited and nervous, and she didn't talk much, saying she missed her 15 bus. But other than that, they didn't know where she was headed after she left their house. So 24 hours after the police started investigating, they found Andrew Mernon, the soldier that she was supposed to meet, and he was like, I was super drunk. I don't remember making any plans with her. And he actually felt really bad that he had stood her up, but he had an alibi, one that the police could confirm. Yorkshire police? That's how you follow up on an alibi.
Yeah, you actually do your job.
So many young men and boys that visited the Willow Cafe were questioned, especially locals with a history of sexual offenses, but they all had alibis and were crossed off the list. They couldn't find any leads. Then on January 4th, a patrol officer stopped by a work site near the crime scene, and he wanted to question all the day laborers working for the gas board. And he was asking if they had seen anything or if they remember anything weird. Actually, I said the date wrong. It wasn't January 22nd. It was January 2nd. I typed in the 2 wrong. I forgot. So,
today.
So January 2nd is the date that she was supposed to go out for a date. So this is like January. She was found January 3rd. So January 4th, a patrol officer stopped by a work site near the crime scene and wanted to question the day laborers. He was asking if they had seen anything or remember anything weird, and if anyone had been acting strange. One man, Peter,
just George cracking a joke.
But one man, Peter Manuel, appeared to have fresh scratches on his face, and they were noticeable. And Manuel claimed to have gotten the scratches from a fight in Glasgow on New Year's Eve. And the officer was like, "No, those are new scratches. They're deep and pretty brutal." And the officer looked at him and go, "That's from a person fighting for their life right now. That's from a person fighting."
Again, do you see how that works?
So
that's paying attention to
evidence. Details. So later, because the officer couldn't stop thinking about it, he went to the home of Peter Manuel, where he lived with his dad. And so the officer talked with Peter Manuel and his dad confirmed his alibi for the night of the murder. And the officer was still like, "I don't buy this." So he went back with a warrant because to him it didn't make any sense. The dad was the only one to confirm the alibi, so there was a little bit of a bias because police, if you have a family member who confirms your alibi, they're a little less likely to believe you, and they will try to find a way to secondarily back up your alibi because family is known to lie for each other. You're known to lie for your significant other. They need to back it up. So the guy comes back with a warrant on January 12th, and this warrant they were able to remove a bunch of items from the home, and they also brought Peter to the precinct to question him. By that time, a foreman at the worksite of Peter Manuel found a sawed-off pickaxe handle buried beneath one of the temporary buildings on site, and they turned it over to the police because they thought it might have been the murder weapon. Detectives questioned Peter for more than 4 hours and his dad, but they stuck to their story, and despite their best efforts, they couldn't connect him to the murder of Anne Nealon.
And of course, you can't connect them. You have to let them go because you have nothing to hold them on.
The police had to let him go because there was nothing to hold him on. So the case went cold and detectives shifted to other things going on. They did not shelf the case, but it was not their first major priority. So they're still investigating, but they get sidetracked. And that's when another horrific crime happened in September. On September 9th, 1956, William White was packing up his fishing gear and his dog for a little solo fishing trip, leaving his wife Marion and their 16-year-old daughter Vivian at home in Burnside, Lincolnshire. So while her husband was going to be gone, Marion invited Margaret Brown, her sister, to stay with her and Vivian while William was away on the morning of September 17th, 1956. The Watts housekeeper, Helen Colson, came to work a little after 9 a.m., and when she went to open the back door, she noticed it was locked, which was weird. There was an agreement that if Vivian's mom wasn't up and Vivian was on her way to school, she would leave the back door unlocked for her.
Mm-hmm.
So Helen walked around the house and she was looking around and knocking on the windows. And when she reached the side of the house, she found a glass panel on the front door had been smashed in. So she runs and flags down a passing mailman, Peter Collier, who immediately was like, okay, let's see what's going on. Let's see if we can find out what's happening. And he puts his hand through the glass and unlocks the door. Peter goes through first, and he goes to the first bedroom, and he finds something horrific. He finds the bodies of Marion and Margaret laying in bed together. He said they were obviously dead. There was blood all over them and the bed, and they were laying on their sides, and each had a large gunshot wound to the head. So Peter calls the police from the house phone, and he's waiting for the police to arrive. And the police are like, you've been us before. Can you tell us if anything is off? And he says the daughter should be in the house. So he and the police go looking for Vivian, and they find her in bed with similar wounds to her mom and aunt, a gunshot wound to the head, and she had various other injuries. She was still alive, though, and still breathing. But by the time the emergency services came to the house, she had passed away. From an initial evaluation of the scene, detectives thought this gentleman who had killed them had broken into the house in the middle of the night by smashing through the window and unlocking the front door. The police believe that once inside, the killer moved quietly in the first bedroom, found Marion and Margaret, both women, and shot both women in the head on the right side, so they thought they were asleep when the whole thing occurred. But Margaret was shot a little lower than Marion. She was shot on the right side, right under her eye. So they were assuming that he shot Margaret first, and then Marion heard the gunshot, moved a little, and then he managed to shoot her underneath her right eye.
It's just baffling to me of what was the time frame for this? What's the years again?
I think like 56.
Okay, so like in the 50s, the mailman going into the house, that would not be allowed today.
Yeah.
Because then you're messing with evidence, you're stepping on evidence. Back then they didn't have that where you're not allowed to go in there. 2, the girl found the panel of the back door or the door broken, and she heard the gunshot. I understand it's right next to her. How would you not hear glass being broken unless the dude wrapped? Because I know people from shows that I've seen, people will wrap their hand in something to where they don't cut themselves, and then punch the glass or something like that.
Unless also you have to think about how far away it is. If it's close to them, yeah, you'll hear it. But if it's super far away, you're less likely to hear it too. Because like if it happened right outside your bedroom, yeah, you'll definitely hear it.
Right.
But if it's like on the other side of the house,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't know an exact layout of where everything happened. Yeah.
Okay.
There were also powder burns on the skin of both women, so the gun was pretty close to them when it was fired. And the coroner confirmed that they were both fatal head wounds. So as soon as the bullets went inside the head, they were both dead. There was no surviving for them.
Right.
The police also noted the night clothes of both women were rumpled and rearranged after their death. There were no signs of SA, but Marion's dress had been hiked up to expose her lower in half, and Margaret's PJ bottoms had been pulled down.
And this is where she came to the conclusion of, like in that last one, if you remember the one case that we did, it was the same way. Which was the Yorkshire
Ripper.
He did the same thing. He was pulling up the skirts, but he was pointing their hoo-ha towards the road to embarrass them, to humiliate them, and pretty much that's what came to the conclusion of he's doing the same thing to humiliate them, to make it look like
it's also a sign that he really hates women. He despises women.
Yeah. Get a life, dude. Oh wait, you don't have one.
They believe that the gunshots woke Vivian, but she stayed in bed with the covers pulled up under her chin, which was kind of how they found her. Like she was found laying on her back with the covers pulled up to here. Her room was torn apart though. There was signs of things being thrown around, items thrown across the room, furniture knocked over. It looked like there had been a fight, but there was nothing else. The killer had stubbed cigarettes, like burnt the cigarettes on the carpet of the room. And Vivian had been shot in the head at close range, but she also had additional bruising to her face and her pubic area. Her arm had been racked violently behind her back, and her bra and underwear were torn from her body. She had not been essayed, there was no evidence of it, but they believe she was tortured and tormented before she was shot. So the bruising on the pubic region is most likely, I will say, probably from being punched in the pubic area.
Yeah.
Along with the face. Because I don't know. He gets particularly violent, and I hate to say it, when he can't get it up. That's the thing with killers. Fun fact. So, I know I say fun fact.
Like...
So there's this idea that when a serial killer is unable to get it up, they're more likely to stab because it's a secondary act of penetration.
Oh. I don't think you said that last time.
No, it's new.
That is new. Fun fact.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Keep that in mind for serial killers that are stabbing.
I'm like, oh, you can't get it up. Stand. Just like the dude that touched the woman's food. I'm so sorry. That one cracked me up. And I think that's going to be the funniest part of a case that I've ever heard. Is the dude stabbing the female, and then he accidentally brushes or touches her boob, stops. I'm sorry for touching your boob, and then goes back to stabbing. It's like,
it is the weirdest.
Why did you apologize, dude?
You're killing her. What is?
It's like
you're apologizing for touching her boob, but not apologizing for killing her.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a weird sense of moral dilemma.
Are you trying to get under the blanket? Well, now your claw's stuck. They call that, Mom? Oh, you're taking the blanket with you. I just have to throw it over her. There you go.
So,
goofy cat.
Vivian's friend and next-door neighbor told the press how they had been together the previous evening and she had escaped being the fourth victim. She said she was leaving the house and she joked about staying the night. And the mom and aunt were still up at the time. The neighbor said nothing but good things about the entire family. They called them very nice people. One neighbor told reporters, I'd spoken to the girl once or twice. She was very attractive and kind and a good person. So while detectives were combing the Watts house, a neighbor approached him to report that another house had been broken into while the occupants were away. But they said they saw something weird happen. It looked like the glass panel on the front door was broken. A patrol officer was sent, and they found a scene similar to the Watts house, except no one had died. Someone had broken into the home, trashed the house, and dumped canned soup and spaghetti on the floor. They tracked mud through the house like it was done on purpose, and there was a bunch of cigarettes stamped out on the carpet. One of the beds looked like it had also been slept in recently. Investigators believe the break-in was initially a robbery, but when the owners were contacted and came back, they said the only things missing were 2 gold rings not worth a lot of money. And they also said the most expensive stuff was right out in the open. So police started to begin to think that the killer of the Watt family actually stayed in this family's home while the family was gone and watched the Watts family waiting for the perfect time to strike.
Stalking them.
Mm-hmm.
Like stalking your prey to see what their schedule is.
The reason they thought this was because the house that was broken into was within eyeshot of the Watt house, and they could see the comings and goings from the house. So this case received widespread coverage, and it set off a pretty sizable panic among women and girls, as there was an intense pressure to solve the case. And so investigators turned to the most likely suspect, William Watt, and they looked at his alibi and background. And while everyone was praising the Watt women, no one could do the same for William Watt. He was criticized for going fishing on the Lord's Day. I will also say how he found out his family was dead was pretty messed up. He had been told by the press. They had actually tracked him down on his fishing trip and told him before the police could get to him. Wow. The week after the murder, William Watt would become the primary suspect, and multiple witnesses picked him out of a lineup. He was held at Barleen Prison, but after several weeks was released because the case was questionable. There was no evidence that he had murdered his entire family, broke into the house a couple doors down, and according to Hector McLeod, to some he was a pathetic victim, to others he was a scheming victim who was fortunate not to be convicted of murder. Now in the case of Ann Nielsen's murder, Peter Manuel was at the top of the suspect list. Manuel had a long criminal history of SA, among other things, so police actually questioned him about the Watts murder too. And they asked his dad about his alibi, and his dad backed up his alibi again. They even searched his home, and they couldn't find anything related to the Watts family murder either. And Peter Manuel's connection to the Watts murder case ended there, or so they thought. Peter Manuel couldn't stop himself. So while William Watt was in jail in Barleen's prison, Peter Manuel was arrested and incarcerated in the same prison for stealing. And they were serving like right next to each other. So Peter Manuel wrote a letter to William Watts' lawyer and said, "I know he's innocent. I know the man that did it." According to Peter, a day before the murders, he'd been asked to participate in a robbery at the Watts home, but he declined. A day after the murder, the same man went back to Peter and said, "I've been afflicted by the horrors he committed against the Watts family," and then asked Peter Manuel to get rid of the gun he used. This mystery man was also the one who stole the 2 rings from the home nearby. Although William Watts' lawyer was skeptical, he told authorities, and it was clear Peter was angling for early release on the robbery conviction, and he was trying to use the info as a bargaining chip to do so. And while he seemed to know a lot about the murders, including several small details that hadn't really been talked about in the press, it was possible he learned about talking about it with the right people. So, in addition to Peter's criminal activity, he was known to the police in Lanarkshire as a fantastic liar. They were skeptical about the report of an unnamed man being the killer of the Watt family, but they didn't want to just dismiss it. So they did their due diligence and they followed up and began investigating his claims. And they did a full-scale raid on Peter's home he shared with his dad. So police were like, "You are using this to get an early release." In addition to William Watts' lawyer, Peter spoke openly to anyone about several crimes, including Ann Nealon's murder, where he wasn't saying he did it, but he knew the person who did do it. He speculated about who the killer was. He told reporters, "I wish to emphatically state I did not kill these unfortunate people." He also demanded that Lanarkshire police go on record to state the investigators' recent actions had no bearing on any murder case whatsoever. So members of the police who were like, "I think this guy killed Ann Nealon, and I think he killed the Watt family." And he was the most serious suspect in both cases.
About time.
To other officers, he was a troublesome liar with annoying tendencies to be involved in major crimes. It was an MO of his, after all. After William's release, Peter continued writing letters to law enforcement saying he knew info about recent murders, but he wouldn't say what, and he would get into even more cryptic and then even more fantastic claims. And as he did this, less people took him seriously. So, on November 7th, 1957, he was released from Barlin Prison and put back on the street. Police were still looking for Ann's murderer and now the Watt murderer, but they were only suspicious, and so there was not much that could be done. Also, his dad kept saying he was somewhere else the night of the murders. So far, Peter Manuel likes attention. We can see that claiming murders he knew the killer for, and he just is this attention seeker. And this is where we're going to discuss his life. Because he gets worse. These are not his only murders. Peter Manuel was born in Manhattan on March 13th, 1927. So he's a New Yorker.
New York.
He was born to Samuel and Bridget Manuel, Scottish immigrants who had come back to the U.S. to live a better life. They had another child named James, who they had to leave behind in Scotland. And as much as I hate to say it, it was kind of common at the time to do that. They planned to get him back when they had more money. So, sadly, the market crashed in 1929 and the Depression happened, which ruined the idea of the American dream and economic prosperity for most people. So by 1932, the family moved back to Scotland and they moved to Mothery, which is a part of Lanarkshire. Now, according to his brother, Peter struggled to adjust to his life in Scotland because he had spent the first 5 years an only child and now he suddenly had an older brother. And he also was put in a school with older kids who were also more advanced. So kids, would consider him stupid because he wasn't on the same level as them. And he was teased for being different and being unfamiliar with Scottish culture. And as much as I hate to say it, for kids, that's kind of normal.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter's criminal history began when he was 10 years old. He broke into a local chapel in Coventry where the family was living and stole the church collection box. He was getting into trouble on a regular basis, and on one occasion, his teacher found an unspeakable filthy, which is how she described it on her desk, and they traced it back to Peter. We have a little bit of a debate as to what an unspeakable filthy is. I think it's poop.
Sorry. Why? What's that? We either think it's poop or bodily fluid. Well, I thought a picture. Maybe he drew like a fantasy picture or some. Like, how old was he again?
I think at the time he was like 10 or 11.
But after yeah. So it wouldn't be a picture. I almost went down
I
the
am
wrong pipe.
Googling.
She is Googling. And you're watching her Google.
Okay, so an unspeakable filthy.
It's poop, isn't it?
No, I said back. Is an intensified way of describing something that is considered morally repugnant, extremely vulgar, or physically disgusting to an extent that is difficult or impossible to adequately describe with words.
Okay. So it was a poop. It could be, it is bodily fluid.
Yeah.
So, what else could he put? A dead animal?
I don't know.
We
don't know what the unspeakable filthy was, but apparently he left it on her desk and it was traced back to him.
It has to be bodily fluid because that's one way they could trace it back to you.
Or somebody saw him go into the room or something. Yeah. So when he was confronted about it, he showed no signs of remorse at all. People realized he had no remorse for his actions because the breaking and petty thefts continued, and they continued in his teen years, and he would get more brazen with each crime committed. He did well in school, but he didn't use his smarts in his criminal career because he got caught a lot and he got punished a lot. I wonder if he liked the attention of getting caught.
Probably because there's a lot of people that are killers that they like the attention of getting caught.
Yeah.
And then right when you think that they're going to get caught,
they've
managed to be 2 steps ahead.
So police are like, we need to stop doing like probation and verbal reprimands. We need to actually physically do something. So they started sending him to juvenile detention centers. And during one of those sentencings, he was evaluated by a psychiatrist, and they made the following observation. Out of school, he is said to always be in trouble. At school, he is to be cunning and puts on an air of innocence. And this is very, very interesting. He wrote, he is deceitful difficult to believe, and appears to be the ringleader on most occasions. He has led younger boys into trouble, and he consorts with those suspected of being thieves. I am not at all surprised the boy has appeared in court again. There is no doubt whatsoever that the magistrates adopted a correct aptitude and committed him to a proof school.
That's pretty sad when the judicial system's like him again.
Yeah, and the psychologist is like, there's nothing to do. You're making a good decision by locking him up. Wow. That's basically he was saying he was belonging where he's going, and most of his offenses were non-violent at the time. They had details that would imply that he could escalate, though. When he was 14, Peter ran away from a juvenile detention center, which was a school at the time, and he broke into a nearby home and stole the homeowner's purse. The woman returned home and found Peter carrying an axe in her home. He ran out, but he was still holding the weapon when he ran out. A year later, he ran away from the school again and broke into a home with the intention of robbing it. But he discovered the female homeowner was asleep in bed, and he beat her with a hammer. He was 15 at the time. The attack led to a concussion and hemorrhaging, but the woman lived. When he was arrested for this, he pled not guilty, and he would not or could not explain why he attacked her. So you can kind of see it started with burglaries, and then he robs somebody, and then he's like, I'm going to hold this axe, which in and of itself is an escalation. Mm-hmm. Then you see him go ahead and start brutally attacking someone who's asleep, which is when they're in their most vulnerable state and can't fight back. Mm-hmm. It's an escalation.
And not only that, it gives him power knowing that he can carry a weapon. And the person may not show that fear, but they could be scared on the inside of them, like, oh my God, a 15-year-old has a freaking axe. Why does he have an axe in the first place? Okay, well, I'm not going to approach him or say anything because he's running out the door, because best bet, he probably would have turned around and
hit her
and took her out.
So a few months after the hammer attack, he ran away from school and escaped to a home of a school staff member. The staff member was not home, but his wife was. Peter beat her in the head with a large piece of wood. When she was incapacitated, he dragged the woman to the wooded area by her house, ripped off her clothes, and intended to essay her, but stopped at the last minute for unknown reasons. She suffered a broken nose and a broken shoulder bone. So he's just getting bolder and bolder, and you're starting to see connections to crimes that we've just talked about. Mm-hmm. Too. So now it's during this time also, when he's 15, 14, that he starts exhibiting this odd behavior when he's robbing and attempting murder and all this other stuff. He started adding massive damage to the homes themselves he broke into. He would break in and rip up clothing and furniture and dump food on the floors and vandalize the walls and stub cigarettes on the carpet. And this started in his teens. Mm-hmm. According to one paper, the damage left was of such enormity that words could not adequately describe it. Peter's violent behavior is escalating. In 1946, he was arrested when he hid in the walls of a home he was robbing while waiting for police to leave. How the fuck did he get in the walls?
That's a good question. Why? It reminds me of an episode when I was watching Narcos, and two people that they were trying to find to put into jail that was a part of the Pablo Escobar group literally made like a panel that you can remove, and they hid in the freaking wall. Dude almost died, but like, why? Either just come out or run.
He was caught trying to escape the scene later, so while he was smart to hide in the walls, he was not smart getting away. While he was on bail for that crime, so he's out on bail for breaking into a home, robbing it, and hiding in the walls, he SA'd 3 women. And he was rearrested and sentenced to 8 years in jail. It was during this time that Peter gained a reputation among police and other criminals for being narcissistic and a compulsive liar. By most accounts, he would lie about everything, including one where he said his dad had been executed in the electric chair.
Which was never really... Yeah.
Your dad literally I got your alibi.
Your dad just sit there and covered your ass, man.
Why are you saying he's dead? He also continued to blame others for his behavior. He blamed his incarceration on William Muncie, who was the detective constable that arrested him at the scene of the robbery. And Peter's time in prison was rough. He was not a model prisoner. He broke a lot of rules and violations, and he would have violent outbursts involving inmates, and he would receive the punishments that followed. He continued his outbursts and unwillingness to even be slightly easy to deal with.
Ew.
And this got him sent to the prison psychologist. And in it, he included this little gem. His record from the age of 12 makes it clear he is an aggressive psychopath, which we discussed last time. You cannot be labeled a psychopath until you're at least over 18, I think. 18 to 25 is it debates because of how your brain forms, because your brain doesn't finish in evolving until you're
what?
22, 25?
25 is what they say 25. Is when your brain is fully developed as an adult.
And they don't want to be labeling someone at 12 years old as an aggressive psychopath because that could do unharmed, unknown damage to them. But also, their brain may not be fully developed. They could just be a really late bloomer when it comes to emotions and processing. They could be going through traumas.
Because they tend to say, too, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you do more of the research, that more people that are murderers or become murderers, they tend to just keep themselves reserved and quiet to a point.
To a point. Right? Some of them are really good at
the manipulation.
That's what it is. They're more good at manipulating than anything else. They keep their real selves under deep cover. Peter Manuel can't really do that.
Because he likes to blab.
Yeah.
He's a blabber.
So he has all the benefits of juvenile court's treatments and Borstal treatments, and it is doubtful whether even at the beginning of his sentence any constructive work could be done with him. There is nothing I can suggest now. The guards and the staff at the prison agreed there was nothing that could be done with Peter Manuel. He was dangerous. One officer summed up Peter as such: his police and prison records prove he is literally impossible to manage. This man, other than when he is locked up is on his own. Mm-hmm. So basically, everyone's like, Peter Manuel is dangerous when he's out in the world, but you can't do something to him until he's done a crime.
Even though he has done a number.
Yeah, he's done a number
of crimes, and you know that it's him, but you ain't doing nothing.
Well, you can't. They have no evidence. His alibi is checking out and all that other stuff. So Peter was released from prison in October 1952, and he had learned how to be a better criminal, and you can see why he was suspected in multiple murders. Peter had now also become better at committing crimes. He had evolved into an even more cunning criminal. So Detective Pryor were able to build fast cases against him. But now it's harder because he's not leaving anything behind. He's learning. Mm-hmm. After his release from Barlemy, he wasted no time going back and committing crimes. And he was going to do even worse things. On the morning of December 9th, police responded to a call. It was a strange call. It was about an abandoned taxi on the moors in Newcastle and Tyne. So police head to the moors because that's a little weird. And when they arrive at the scene with the taxi, they see the driver's side door is wide open, and there's a bunch of blood. And now it wasn't until hours later when they discovered the 36-year-old driver, Sidney Dunn, who was a man laying face down 150 yards away in a big bush of heather. They had found his throat was cut and he had been shot in the head. Now, this was a violent death. Most officers would say this was terrible and violent, and it looked like a violent robbery gone wrong. There was a slight issue with that. Dunn's wallet was still on him, and the money from the fares was still there. So whoever killed him hadn't killed him for money, but had killed him for pleasure. From the beginning of this investigation into the murder, it was an uphill battle. In addition to heavy rainfall and snowfall making it difficult to collect evidence, there was no leads at all. The only lead they had was another taxi driver named Thomas Green, who said two men who appeared in their mid-20s had approached him and Dunn around 4:30 a.m. before the murder, and one was looking for a ride to Edmund Byers and the other to Newbern. Thomas took the man going to Newbern, and the man going to Edmund Byers got into Dunn's taxi. The man was described as being 25 years old, 5'8", with a swarthy complexion. Swarthy means dark hair, straight, and brushed back. That was all they could get from Thomas Green. But that description was a really good description. So by the end of December, there was no other leads, and detectives had become desperate for info that they resorted to boots on the ground for door-to-door questions in hopes that someone from the neighborhood near the moors had heard something or saw something. A coroner's inquest was held, but other than confirming the cause of death, there was no new conclusion, and the inquest was adjourned on December 31st. So police in Newcastle are pulling out their hair trying to solve the murder, and detectives in Lanarkshire are dealing with a new case. A missing teenage girl. They saw this case was familiar. On December 28th, 17-year-old Isabel Cook left home a little after 7 p.m., and she was going to go attend a dance at the Masonic Hall in nearby Eddington, and she was going to meet her boyfriend Douglas Braden there, and they were going to go dance. About 45 minutes to an hour passed, and Isabel had not shown up to meet him, so he went inside by himself. By the next morning, when Isabel hadn't come home, her parents called the police, and they started to search for her. They had police dogs and everything, and using the dogs, they were able to determine she had taken a shortcut from the main road to meet her boyfriend. The shortcut went through a wooded area along a footpath. This footpath was familiar to them, because it was there, 11 years earlier, Peter Manuel had attacked a young woman. It was on this same footpath where they found her purse. Most of her belongings were still in it, and some of the items were scattered around. They also found one of her shoes. Now, a police spokesman told reporters they're treating this as more serious than just a girl missing from home. The case took an ominous turn the next day because more pieces of Isabel's clothing were found along the banks of a river near Calder Park Zoo. Local divers came forward and offered to search the river, but sadly there was no more stuff found in the river. Many police officers were thinking of Anne Nealon's murder, and so was the press. Sadly, though, after a week of searching, they found no additional evidence and there was no leads. They could only circulate until they got new information. So while police on the Cook case waited, more shocking cases came their way. On the morning of January 6th, two patrol officers were investigating a call about an abandoned vehicle, and they went to the car owner's house. The owner's name was Peter Smart, and when they arrived at his house, Peter's coworkers were actually waiting for them. They had gone to his house to look for him because he didn't show up for work and he wasn't answering his phone. That's some good coworkers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd want you to come see if I'm okay.
Yeah, that's some
like
good
when
coworkers.
I'm not home yet, she called me. Are you good? Yep, I just ran away. Just kidding.
So his coworkers told the police this, and they were like, "We're not getting." They were also not getting response. So they forced themselves inside the door, and that is when they found Peter, his wife Doris, and their 11-year-old son dead from gunshot wounds to the head. It was not a robbery because all the valuable things in the home were all in plain sight. Someone did, however, trash the home. Superintendent Murdo Mackenzie told reporters in a press conference there was not a sign of the home being broken into, and Mackenzie noted that no gun had been found in the house, ruling out murder-suicide. The coroners estimated that all three were murdered in the early hours on New Year's Day, and according to the Smarts' neighbor, they had been planning on going and visiting family that day, so no one thought it was weird when his car was not in the driveway. The curtains in the home were also drawn, which was odd, but it was in the days after the murder, neighbors noticed the curtains had changed position several times over the course of several days. That means whoever had killed them had come back to the home and stayed in the home for several days.
So his MO is staying in the house after the fact, or staying in the house before he does it.
Yeah. Later, after Peter Manuel's trial, police learned that someone had tried to break into the home of John McMunn and his wife, the neighbors who lived a little ways away from the Smarts, in the early hours of January 4th. So he killed the Smart family on the 1st and was going to kill another family on the 4th. So that's a little bit of an escalation. He's speeding up. Miss McMunn woke up in the middle of the night to find a man looking at her through her bedroom window, trying to break in. That's terrifying.
Yeah. My thought was, if you see a man, just get your husband up and say, "Hi, you're naked." Go stand in the window and go, "Woo!" See how fast he runs away.
She sat up and screamed for her husband to get the gun, and the man ran away. Smart lady. Mm-hmm. It was only after that Peter was executed she admitted it was Peter she saw that night. Since his release from prison in November, police have been watching him. DCI William Muncie, who arrested Peter several years earlier for housebreaking, was assigned to lead the investigation into the missing Isabel Cook. When he got to the case, Muncie thought of Ann Neelam's murder and Peter Manuel, but other than that gut feeling, there was no evidence. Manuel's name came again when Muncie heard about the Smart family, and his name just kept popping up with murders and missing people. And it was getting harder and harder to deny the connection between all of them. So now they've really decided to hone in the surveillance. And their big break came a week later. In the course of the investigation, police learned they could use some criminal informants to get more info on Peter. They learned from these informants that Peter had been seen and witnessed by several people spending brand new 5-pound notes at a pub in Glasgow. What police found out was just before the murder, Peter Smart had gone to the bank and had withdrawn several new 5-pound notes because he was going to use it on a family holiday. So, armed with a warrant and a list of the note numbers that Smart had pulled from the bank, a group of police detectives arrived at Peter's house again. On the morning of January 14th, Peter's father Samuel answered the door, and Detective Superintendent Alex Brown handed him a copy of the search warrant and explained they were looking for any 5-pound notes. They were looking for keys and any other evidence taken from the Smart home. Samuel immediately got hostile and verbally abusive with officers. He ended up letting them in the house, and when they got in the house, they found Peter asleep in the living room. But once he was woken up, Brown read the warrant aloud to Peter, and Peter immediately became abusive and flipped out. He was not happy, but ultimately he had to comply. So after getting ready, he willingly went down to the precinct with 2 officers. Now, I'm going to talk about Superintendent Brown, because he's really interesting.
Okay.
The Glasgow Times said Brown was known to be methodical with his methods, and he was good at knowing how people ticked. His forte was psychology. He was like the first person, like one of the first police officers to really try to connect solving cases and psychology at the same time.
Okay.
So that's pretty interesting. One fellow detective.
You don't find that much anymore.
Yeah. He would be methodical with search warrants. See, and he would search from top to bottom. One fellow detective said if he didn't find what he was looking for in a house, he would strip the paper off the walls if necessary.
That's helpful. I mean, now you have a reason to remodel.
His favorite piece of advice for police officers was use the minimum amount of words and maximum amount of action.
Good words.
In 1943, he wrote an article for a police magazine titled Psychology and the Investigation of Crime. He said the best investigators are the ones that understand human behavior. So when he was investigating Peter Manuel, he actually set up an office in Bothwell, and he had a bed installed. So if there was a call, he could go into action at any moment.
Smart. Because you don't want to have to sit there and be 10 minutes away, and now you got to take 10 minutes just to go back to the police station.
He was like, that takes living at work a whole other...
Yeah, he did. He put a whole new meaning on workaholic.
He was also one of the detectives that it was decided to strike on Peter Manuel. So after they had arrested him, they had him questioned, and I'm going to skip a little bit ahead. And Brown told Peter, "We're charging your father," because they had found a reference tome was found in their home, and it was because they had broken into a reverend's home, a priest's home.
Okay.
He had broken into a priest's home, stole something. The police found the thing he stole, and was like, you know what? It's your father's house. We're not going to charge you. We're going to charge your dad for the robbery
because it's his house.
Because it's his house.
Wow.
And that caused Peter to crack. He was like, okay, I'll talk. Don't charge my father. When the Manuel case went to trial and he ended up being convicted, the trial judge, Lord Decameron, invited Brown and two other detectives back into his chambers afterwards and thanked them for their efforts to get Manuel arrested. This was not something that was really done ever before. And in 1959, he was given the Queen's Police Medal before retiring. So Peter said about Brown, I could handle the others, but I couldn't handle Brown. So they took him from his house and they arrest him and they go back to the precinct. And this was a tactical decision because they knew with Peter being gone, his elderly parents would be a lot less defiant and a lot less aggressive. So they were able to search the house with little interference. And they found several items in the home that were related to several crimes. A pair of men's gloves, a camera, which had been stolen from the home of a local reverend on Christmas Day.
Right.
Now, when Peter was at the precinct, Peter was in multiple lineups, and they were asking bartenders to identify who was spending those new 5-pound notes. The numbers on the notes matched the ones taken out by the Smart family, and it was during this time that Patrol Officer Robert Smith identified him in a different scenario. Robert Smith said that Peter was the one who gave him a ride on the morning of January 2nd. According to Robert, he was hitchhiking to work when Peter Manuel drove up and picked him up in a gray A30, which was Peter Smart's car. And the two men had made small talk, and Robert mentioned he was on his way to work, where he was going to be participating in the search for Isabel Cook. He said Peter had a strong reaction and started talking about the case. And he wanted to talk, that's all he wanted to talk about. He told Robert, I don't think the police are looking in the right area. So this evidence is piling up and the police are making connections to multiple different murder investigations that are happening. And now Peter isn't dumb, so he knows what's happening. So on the morning of January 15th, Peter Brown asked that his parents be brought in after Brown threatened his dad. So Peter then told detectives, I have told my parents and made a clean breast of them, and you can take them away and I will clear everything for you. And then I will take you to where the Cook girl is buried. So he sobbed and he confessed to his parents that he killed Ann Nealon, Marion and Viviette Watt, Margaret Brown, Isabel Cook, and the 3 members of the Smart family.
Yeah.
So everyone here knew he was also a compulsive liar. So the prosecutor was like, we need more evidence to prove it.
How can you? Give us details. How can you trust him? If he's a compulsive liar.
He's a compulsive liar.
And you can't really go off of his word.
Now, Peter said he broke into the Smarts' house through an open window, killed everyone inside, and took the cash he could find. In the days later, he returned to the house daily to eat the food and relax in the living room and feed the cats.
Well, that's nice of him to feed the cats.
You know, in the house where all the dead owners are.
Yeah, I mean, so nice of you to feed the cats.
Yeah. Now, his knowledge of the Smart house, the layout, everything inside, could only be known to the person who committed the crime. And the same was true for the other cases he confessed to. So after given a full confession, he was taken to Barney for the evening. And the next day, he led detectives to a large field near the old brickworks. Then he told investigators, I dug that hole. I had her body, but a man disturbed me by taking a shortcut, and I had to take her away. So they're like, okay, so where is she? And he took them on a long circular route around the field into the recently plowed fields. And he brought them to a patch of land that looked recently disturbed. And he said, I think she's in there. And I think she's in there. I think I'm standing on her. He was correct. He was indeed standing on her.
It's so disturbing just for him to be nonchalant. Oh, I think I'm standing on her. Just so you know.
When investigators dug 2 feet into the earth, they found the body of Isabel Cook. Her shirt was bunched up around her waist. Her skirt was bunched up around her waist, and her underwear was missing. Her scarf had been forced in her mouth as a gag, and her bra was wrapped around her neck, and it was used to choke her to death. She also had a lot of bruising on the left side of her face, as though she had been struck several times. At the station, Peter drafted a formal confession in writing to every single one of the murders, providing details of each one. He also confessed to several robberies in the area. He emphasized the robberies were the motive for the attacks. Didn't steal everything from them. My guy, you can't say robbery if you didn't steal.
Yeah, that's lying.
While Peter sat in the cell in Barney's prison, there was a large team of investigators gathering evidence and collecting witness statements, with the critical evidence being the Beretta pistol and the Weebly revolver that were used in the Smart and Watts murder. Manuel said he had thrown them in the River Clyde, and after the murders, and they had found them. The police had found the guns. Police also found out that Manuel had been in Newcastle for a job interview the night that Sidney Dunn was murdered. He was also identified as a man that got into Dunn's taxi. On January 29th, he was charged with the murder of Sidney Dunn, but since that crime took place in England, he couldn't be charged until he was done with the charges in Scotland. His trial began May 12, 1958, at the High Court in Glasgow, and his defense team was John Ferns, Ian Doherty, and lead counsel Harold Leslie. They were all volunteer counsel assigned by the Scottish Bar, so they were just thrown into this case. For the months leading up to the trial, the press had crossed into sensational. Spectators were lining up around the courthouse as early as 8 p.m. the night before to get a seat in the courthouse. That included 150 exhibits, including the guns used in the murders and pieces of Anne Nealon's skull.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little far there, but all right.
The witness list for the prosecution had 300 people on it.
Jesus.
So before the opening statement had been made, Harold Leslie shocked the court by making a statement on behalf of his client. The statement said, "I appear on behalf of the panel." The panel would be his team, essentially. Peter Manuel, who adheres his plea of not guilty. And there are a special defense lodge. Despite having made a full confession in writing and verbally and giving details of each crime, including leading them to the body of a missing woman, so he changed his plea to not guilty on May 13th. On front of the entire court, he said he wasn't the one who killed the Watt family, and it was instead William Watt, the one he kept writing letters saying he didn't do it. Yeah, he said he actually did it. The court went nuts, and the judge took a lot of time to resume order, but eventually he got it under control. So in the beginning, the lead prosecutor, Maurice Giles, laid out the case against Peter in pretty simple terms. He highlighted the evidence against him, making connections between the whereabouts at the time of the murders, when they were committed, his criminal history that included specific hallmarks like the cigarette marks, the trashing of the place, the dragging of women, all of that stuff. So they didn't want to rely only on the confession, but also on evidence that was proved he was the killer. So in days after that, one witness after another came up and presented testimonies that were compelling, including the foreman who found Anne's body, and also a fellow worker who claimed he showed up the next day with fresh scratches on his face. That same witness said he had seen Peter removing bloody work boots from the site a day or two prior. So after Anne Nealon's testimony, they moved into the Watt family murder, and the first witness was Lawrence Dowdall, the lawyer who represented William Watts and received the letters from Peter claiming William was innocent. Among other things, Dowdall described Manuel as the most vicious psychopath he had ever had the misfortune to meet.
Well, that's nice. Okay. I mean, I blame him.
Yeah.
What?
Charles Tallis, who was a known criminal and associate of Peter, also testified, and he explained he had given Peter the gun that was used in the Watt murder. Tallis said, "He told me he had bullets and the bullets wouldn't fit in the gun, but were falling through the magazine, and he said he helped Manuel make the gun function. He said he didn't know what it was for." William Watt also testified not only to the murders, but also the contact with him for months that followed the murders. So according to William Watt, he and Manuel attempted to convince him. So according to William Watt, Manuel had attempted to convince him that 3 people had been involved in the shooting, and one of them was Charles Tallis. William Want on the stand said that he said Charles Tallis broke into the home. They went in, shot my wife and sister in bed. Then he broke down in tears on the stand. Now, the most damning piece of evidence was, of course, the confession that Peter had voluntarily given to the police because it was detailed.
Uh-huh.
On the witness stand, Detective Robert McNeil explained the process by which they obtained his confession from him, and that included the statement Manuel made before he confessed, where he said, "There is no future for me." Manuel also allegedly said, "I have done some terrible things. I killed the girl, Nealon, at East Kilbride, and I shot 3 women at the house in Burnside." And following McNeil's testimony, Manuel's confessions were read in full to the jury.
Well, I mean...
Yeah. On May 22nd, Peter shocked the court again because he dismissed his whole defense team and was like, "I'm going to defend myself. These lawyers ain't doing jack." And after
usually that's the stupid thing to do.
Yeah,
by the way.
It is still a
stupid
thing to do. Because you
end up screwing yourself over.
Yeah. On May 20, he dismissed the whole defense team, and after a brief recess, Harold Leslie addressed the judge, saying, "I'm no longer in a position with my colleagues to continue the case," the panel being desirous of conducting the remainder of the trial. The judge allowed the change, but said that Fern and Doherty needed to remain close in case they were needed to assist. Now, this was actually not new for Peter Manuel. He had defended himself before in court several years earlier, and he had defended himself in a rape case in the Audrey Sheriff Court. He did go to prison for that, so he's not good at defending himself, but he's done it before. He had a lot of confidence in himself. He was charming in court, and he even impressed the most successful, experienced lawyers watching the trial. According to Joe Beltrami, a prominent Scottish lawyer, he said Judge Lord Cameron was surprised at the standard and skill of the accused. Wow. His cross-examination was good. Eventually, he took the stand for himself, and he refuted everything he had priorly said and confessed to. And he started saying it was everyone else's fault. Final arguments were given May 29th, and the jury barely took 2 hours before returning a guilty of verdict on 7 counts of murder, 6 counts of capital murder, and 1 count of non-capital murder. In Anne Nealon's case, they determined he was not guilty for her murder.
Which is, to me, not cool, because it's just not... He should have been charged.
Yeah. When the verdict was read in the courtroom, it went wild. There were 100+ reporters, and they ran out to type what was happening. But Lord Judge Cameron wasted no time passing the sentence. He said, "You will be taken from this place to the prison of Barnley, Glasgow, therein detained until the 19th day in June. Next, and upon that day in said prison, upon the hours of 8 and 10, you suffer death by hanging." After passing the sentence, Lord Cameron dismissed the jury, adjoined the people, and refused Peter Manuel the opportunity to make a statement.
Rightfully so.
For several years, the crimes of Peter Manuel captivated people across the UK, but when the trial was over, people felt justice was served, so attention moved away from him. The day of his execution, June 11th, 1958, the Evening Times reported the hands of the prison clock pointed to the execution hour. Fewer than a dozen people stood silently outside the prison. There was no demonstration, no protest by opponents of capital punishment, as the final act was carried out under due process of the law. At 8 a.m., the executioner pulled the lever, he was hung to death, and the people of Scotland were finally free of Peter Manuel.
Pull the lever, crunk!
Wrong lever! So yeah, that's the Peter Manuel case.
I mean, he screwed himself over big time, if you think about it.
He did.
From the very beginning and until his last day.
I mean, he buried the sawed-off pickaxe at his workplace.
Which, come on, guy. There are people. There are people at your workplace. Why would you bury something that was, I'm going to say, potentially evidence?
Yeah.
Because they did find it. They did dig it up. to try to use it against him, saying it could have been the weapon. So why
would you use it? I don't know why he would use it.
Why would you sit there? Why would you sit there and bury it? That's the question. Why would you bury that?
Because he's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry if you hear me clicking. I'm approving the grammar changes to my next case.
Yeah, she's just I tired.
I tired too. But yeah, that was the Peter Manuel case. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The next case we will be talking about is the shoe fetish slayer, aka Jerry Brudos. So remember, please do not wear red high heels.
So don't bring your shoes.
No.
And don't eat. I think you said something about don't be eating.
Don't eat.
Don't be eating.
And don't go on the internet and search up Jerry Brudos photo.
I don't.
There's a photo of one of his. It's a weird photo. I will talk about the photo in the episode, but it's a weird photo.
I can't wait till we have a better setup so we can share things like that. We can sit here and be like, oh, you want to see what this person looks like? Let's do that. And then just be like, have the 2 dual screens and just keep the one photo up about the person we're talking about.
This was the photo. So they cut out, because her body is in the photo too. So they cut out the face they cut out everything and just left his. This is a mirror reflection of his face when he's taking this photo. For whatever reason, it completely blurred out his eyes. Nobody knows how it happened.
Dude, you can even see it right there in color.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, his eyes are completely gone in that one.
Yeah, his eyes are gone. For whatever reason, he took a photo of one of his victims and there was a mirror in it, and this is a reflection. Something happened with the mirror where his eyes are not there. Wow. It's the weirdest photo.
I wonder if it's like a... Ooh, we need to do the cinnamon thing.
Oh, yeah. No, we can. It's a second.
Well, I didn't know we were supposed to do it on the first.
I know. I even have a reminder on my phone.
We're talking about doing... You take some cinnamon...
And you blow it in.
And you blow it into your house. And then I made the comment
with
to her...
a little bit of salt, too. You add salt to it.
And I told her, I was like, did I have cinnamon in my floor?
You can't, and you can't.
I'm OCD. That's going to drive me nuts. Well, I have a rug over there. So then I can't touch the rug. Because you can't wash it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to literally leave it there. Knowing me, I'm going to forget.
Yeah.
And pick it up and wash the rug.
The day of. You can wash it later, but you cannot wash it the day of.
Okay, well, that makes it better.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me all that.
Yeah. You can eventually clean it up. You cannot clean it up like... You cannot, like, that would be... No, I also could never just, like, leave an area of my house completely unclean for a long period of time.
My anxiety OCD level went from, okay, we're going to blow that in there, to I can't clean it up, went from here to here. And now it's back down to here. Like,
no, you can eventually clean it up. You just cannot clean it up day of.
Here, John, come home. Why is it crunchy by the front door? It's like, I spilled some salt. Shouldn't we clean it up? We can't till tomorrow.
Because the salt adds a layer of protection with the cinnamon.
I kept seeing that on Facebook to where people were saying, do this, do this. And I'm all about positivity.
Mm-hmm.
John and I did a piece of paper. I ripped out 4 pieces of paper, like one paper, but ripped it into 4. And it's a thing I seen on Facebook. And there was something you were supposed to say afterwards, and I forgot to do it. It was like, so it is, let it be or whatnot. And
if you can't tell, I make a lot of grammatical errors in my papers when I type.
Typing and talking. Because I caught her a few times. I thought she was going to start singing on one part. Because it sounded like when you said can. It's like, damn, you're going to start singing the song, singing the case. But I told John, I go, one piece of paper is for what you're releasing. And what that means is you're releasing what you want to let go of.
Yes.
On the other, so this would be your releasing paper. This would be what you're welcoming in. And I told John, I'm like, we do not read the releasing paper. You do not read what it says. That's what you're getting rid of. Then you rip it up and you throw it away, or you burn it safely. Then on the welcoming paper, like mine, I am welcoming love, God, prosperity, self-worth, And there was something else that I put. There was a fifth one. I kept mine.
Also, they say if you pour lentils on your head, like the dry lentils, you pour the dry lentils on your head. By the end of the year, you will, especially on like on the ball drops, like when it hits midnight, you will have a new home by the end of the year.
You were doing that. I'll do that. So I'll be like, "What are you doing?" I am pouring lentils on my head. He'd be like, "Okay." He finds some things that I do weird, anyways. So that would just be on that list.
Yeah.
Of what I do weird. But
so, I say it was a good pre-recording. We will see you on the next case.
Yes.
All right.
Have a good one, guys.
I can't really move because of the cat. I'm sorry.
Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to friends and family that are into these types of things.
Yes.
Please do remember this is not for children.
Yes.
Just because of the severity of the cases. I'm just going to say not of some cases, but of every single case that we have done. We do a little bit of history also, hence why it is called I almost said J.A.M. J.A.M. History in Life, which is a name that we changed. We went from A&M history to J.A.M. History in Life. And then we go live every Monday, except for right now. Like we said, we're pre-recording because they're going to be moving before us. So either you're going to see some episodes where we're wearing the same clothes, or we've changed clothes. It just depends. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Please, again, make sure to subscribe, pass this on, share it with people that might be interested in the cases. Okay, guys? We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.